And I remember during the last election campaign, one of my questions to the Democratic Party and the Republican Party here, I was like, what are you going to do about housing?
Right.
People can't even afford to get a house. I mean, to rent an apartment. People can't even afford to buy eggs. Egg $9 for 12. But you can't even raise the amount of money, the minimum wage, to offset it. And the rich keeps getting richer and the poor keep working to feed.
That's right. Well, you mentioned it earlier, the SNAP benefits being cut. And that's because in a capitalist system, the system we have, the people who are poor or the people who are homeless
Yeah.
or the people who are, are on SNAP benefits, what have you, they exist as a warning to everyone else that if you don't participate in this system, if you don't jump into the rat race and try and, keep getting to the next spot in your career or trying to get a higher paying job or whatever, that you're going to end up like these people, like a home, you end up homeless and you end up living in your car. And then that exists as a warning that you had better jump into this system and participate or you'll get left behind. And so that's why the rich in this system, they don't care about housing for the homeless. They don't care about SNAP benefits for people who can't afford to buy groceries. Those people exist as a warning to everybody else to shape up and to participate or get crushed. And so that's why in a socialist system, that's not the whole plan. The plan is like, we lift everybody up so that there's a baseline, so that housing, you can have a house for everyone. We have 5 or 6 empty houses for every homeless person in this country. There's a false scarcity, and there's false scarcity all over the place in our system. How much food? I think 1/3 of all the food in every grocery store ends up thrown in the garbage.
Yeah.
Because it's false scarcity. We have more than enough food to go around for every hungry person. In fact, we could end hunger for just a few, it's not that many billions. We could end hunger for every person on this planet. But the capitalist system does not want that.
I'm glad you said that, because when I tell people that, they look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, there's never a shortage of food. We have tons of I live in the Midwest. You live in the Midwest. There's tons of farmland that's not even being farmed. And the reason that they don't farm is because the government tells them not to. They pay them not to do that.
Right.
But the farmers ain't going to tell you that. They get a check.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's not even farmers. It's like 4 companies that own like 80 or 90% of all the farmland. Oh, interesting fact, Bill Gates, the Windows, billionaire, used to be the richest man on earth, has slipped down a few slots, but he's the biggest landowner in our country.
Yeah.
And that's just like George Washington was. This is a little known fact. George Washington owned more land than any other person in the country. So even back then, the founding fathers, we call them, they were the richest dudes in the country. Who else but the richest guys in the country could afford to take 4 months off from May to September in 1789 to write the Constitution? No working man could do that. No working person could do that. So the whole thing was set up from the very start to benefit the owning people, the people who owned things. John Jay, our first Supreme Court justice, said the people who own the country should run it. And that's what we got. And that's where we are right now still.
Let's talk about another book that was very impactful, which I thought was cool.